Hello, Ellen. We're going to take a look at your direction and 5 characteristics of light project. Just give you a bit of recorded feedback here. All right, so let's take a look. First, I see you do have your name there. Let's kind of move back here. I think I'm wound up in your editing mode. You do have your name. Great. Followed instructions there. You do have your identifiers here, position 1, position 2, and so on. So let's take a look. Position 1, position 2. 3, 4, 5. We can definitely see the light shifting around. You know, here, this seems to be a mistake. This is not position 5. There's light up front here, and I can tell that the light is sort of coming from this direction. So position 5 is not correct for that. Position 5 is correct for this because the light is clearly behind everything. So this is not position 5. You just must have mislabeled that. Position 6, position 7, you're identifying the others correctly. So that looks all good. Composition-wise, I think you probably could be doing a little bit more in terms of allowing shadows to happen here, placing bottles in the way. If you take a look at some of the solutions your peer students have found, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is much more effective because we are now starting to get a variation of the way that the light is hitting the bottles. We're a little far away from these bottles. Also, your horizon line is, you know, right in the middle here, and that is typically happens when you have the camera sitting on the table. The horizon lines are never going to be anywhere but in the middle of the composition. And usually when we have that, when we have the end of the table showing like this, what you'll want to try to do is shift it to either the top third or the lower third. Using the rule of thirds will give you an immediate set of energy, but here it's a little bit too centered there. So we'll work on that. Intensity, very good use on this first one. Very good with using the entire picture plane. Where you have some shadows hitting into the backdrop. Once again, we have this horizon line hitting every right in the same spot. At least this one appears to be a little bit lower there. I might have encouraged you, had I saw some of the images in camera, to get a little closer here, because we're still kind of getting a little bit of a portrait of a bottle here. That's something that you'll continue to improve on using the entire picture plane. Again, this is very good in terms of the equal space here and here. You're clearly looking at this entire square. That's excellent. For temperature, it appears that we have the same photograph over and over and over again with different lighting. And while technically you are doing the technique properly, in other words, you're shifting the color balance, you're shifting the color of the light, that's all good. I have nothing to really add to that. However, these bottles are really not moving from image to image. And when you're doing these kinds of series, unless it's otherwise specifically outlined, do a repetitive image, which on the next project, we will have those. However, this project, we really wanted you to explore composition. This project does a lot of things, and one of them is to have you moving around the bottles so that you can create a variety of compositions out of an inanimate object. So I would have gone a different direction here rather than having the same image over and over again. However, the technique is done just right. So while composition suffers here because it's just the same thing over and over again, you've got the technique down a little pretty well. We could have seen more mixed light going on here, meaning have one light, one temperature, and the other light, another temperature. You get much more variety out of it in that case. Again, take a look at some of your peers' solutions, and you will find that they're doing just that. Contrast is where we're using the reflecting card to bounce light back into the scene. One light, the key light, establishes direction, then the reflecting card bounces light back in to fill in the shadows. we're still at the same distance here, and this is more stylistic, I think. I mean, you were just sort of more comfortable, I guess, making photographs of these bottles at a particular distance. I would have liked to see more variation, getting in close, very close, and that would have given you more variety within the scene. Technique-wise, you're doing just fine. I think we could just vary this up in terms of having the bottles closer, having the bottles farther away, and so on. You really would be able to break up the repetition of these compositions, because what we have is a lot of the same kind of compositions happening over and over again. I know they're just bottles. What are you going to do? But that's the challenge. That's the challenge. For hardness, this is going to be where we're really looking at the shadow areas. This is what this part of the project's really all about, is how you are dealing with the shadow areas. And in this case, what we're doing is putting the veil over the light. We have two lights, the key light and the fill light. And then we're going to diffuse one light, meaning you're going to diffuse the shadows, give them soft shadows. Then you diffuse the other light alone. So you have one hard and one soft. And then you diffuse both of them, and that gives you a whole another look altogether. And the effect is something like on this image, where you have these hard shadows here where the key light is coming through, and then you have some softer things going on in the shadow areas where it's diffused. And that's really the idea here, is be able to control your shadows, both having soft shadows and hard shadows in the same image. That creates a depth in those shadows. It's all about creating an additional depth and richness. Let's take a look at what your peers had to say. Oh, wow, Maya's bushes, where the Maya Bush, Sierra, and Jay had a lot to say. Overall, the technique you used to take it very good. You seem to understand different parts. I agree with that. The technique is good. You seem to understand what's going on here. The position, I think, the most creative of the bottles advice. We need to switch up the composition. Yeah, it's the exact same thing that I was just saying. So I would agree with their assessment there. Very descriptive on the direction photos. Okay. Contrast shows great variety and light direction, as well as distinguishes the different filter and the key light. Yeah, so I would largely agree with what your peers are saying. This is good feedback. I would just encourage you as we move forward, unless otherwise specified, really mix up those compositions. There will be a couple of compositions in the next project, the aesthetics and control project, where they are the same photo over and over again, and you're modifying either the light or you're modifying the exposures and things like that. And that's highly structured to get across a particular point. Otherwise, you're going to want to look to fill your postings with a variety of compositions. All right, so you'll receive also a numeric grade, a letter grade for the project, and I wanted to be sure to give you some feedback here on my thoughts about your posting, so that you can have some information. All right, so that will be the end of that, and we will see you in the studio.